Want to know how long you'll live after 70? Look for these 7 proven signs. When you're in your early 20s, the idea of getting old is probably pretty far from your mind. But as you start to approach 70, you may begin to think about what the next phase of your life will look like. If you're lucky enough to reach the age of 70, you can expect to live anywhere from 5 to 20 more years. However, it's not always easy to predict how long someone will live once they've reached this milestone birthday. There are a lot of factors that can affect life expectancy, such as genetics, overall health, and lifestyle. But there are also certain signs which may be able to tell you how long you have left to live. In today's video, we'll share with you 7 proven signs that can tell you how long you'll live past 70. Keep watching till the end to find out more. Sign No. 1. Your pulse wave. Your pulse wave is a simple test that you can do to get an estimate of your overall health and how long you might live. To measure your pulse wave, simply place your fingers on the inside of your wrist, below your thumb, or on the side of your neck. Start a timer on your phone and count the number of seconds between when you feel the pulse and when you feel the next one. Multiply that number by 1,000, and that's your pulse wave in milliseconds. According to research, the average person has a pulse wave of around 1,600 milliseconds. However, people who have a pulse wave of less than 1,100 milliseconds tend to have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, and those with a pulse wave of 2,000 milliseconds or more tend to die sooner than expected. So if you want to know how long you might live, try measuring your pulse wave and see what it is. Just keep in mind that this is just a rough estimate and not a guarantee. Say no to your height. You may be wondering how on earth your height can determine how long you'll live. After all, there are plenty of short people who live long lives and vice versa. However, studies have shown that there is a correlation between height and longevity. For example, a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that men who were 175 centimeters or taller had a 23% higher risk of dying from any cause compared to men who were 165 centimeters tall. Another study published in the journal BMJ found that women who were 157 centimeters or shorter had a 39% lower risk of dying from cancer than women who were 168 centimeters tall. So if you're on the shorter side, don't worry, you may actually have a better chance of living longer than those who are taller than you. And if you're on the taller side, just keep in mind that you may need to take extra care of your health in order to live as long as possible. Sign No. 3. How often you laugh. If you're always cracking jokes and making people laugh, you may have a longer life expectancy than those who don't. That's because according to a recent study, people who laugh more often have a better sense of humor and are better able to cope with stress. They're also more likely to have positive relationships and a sense of community, all of which contribute to a longer, happier life. The study, which was published in the journal Emotion, found that people who laughed more frequently had lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. They also reported better health and well-being overall. So if you want to add some years to your life, start cracking some jokes. Make sure you don't come off as being too negative or sarcastic, as that could have the opposite effect. Sign No for your sense of smell. If you're one of those people who can smell things before anyone else, and you may have something in common with centenarians, people who live to be 100 years old or more, that's because, according to a recent study, having a keen sense of smell is a good predictor of longevity. In fact, researchers found that people with a good sense of smell are 23% less likely to die prematurely from any cause. So if you want to increase your chances of living a long life, make sure you take care of your nose. That doesn't mean literally taking care of it. It just means being aware of how important your sense of smell is when it comes to your overall health and well-being. Sign No. 5. The shape of your head. The shape of your head may be another clue to how long you'll live. That's because according to a recent study, people with longer, more oval-shaped heads are more likely to live longer than those with rounder, shorter heads. Researchers believe that this is because the shape of your head is related to the size of your brain. In fact, they found that people with larger brains tend to live longer than those with smaller brains. Now, don't go measuring your brain to see if you fall into this category. That would be crazy. Instead, just take a look at the shape of your head. If it's more oval than round, you're likely to live longer than if it's round. 6. The strength of your grip. You may have heard the saying that you can judge a man by the strength of his handshake. Well, it turns out that there may be some truth to this old adage. That's because according to a recent study, The strength of your grip is actually a good predictor of your overall health and how long you'll live. In fact, researchers found that people with a weak grip are more likely to experience health problems down the road, such as heart disease and stroke. So, if you want to gauge your risk of developing these potentially deadly conditions, start by measuring the strength of your grip. Of course, this is a foolproof method, and it shouldn't be used as a substitute for regular checkups with your doctor. But it may be worth doing if you're concerned about your overall health. Sign no. 7. Your social connections. Having strong social connections is one of the most important things you can do for your overall health and well-being. That's because, according to a recent study, people who are more socially connected are more likely to live longer than those who are more isolated. In fact, researchers found that having close relationships with friends, family, and other members of your community can help you live up to 20% longer. So if you want to add some years to your life, make sure you nurture your social connections. This doesn't mean you have to become a social butterfly overnight. Just make an effort to stay in touch with the people in your life and make plans to see them regularly. It may seem like a small thing, but it can make a big difference when it comes to your overall health and longevity. Do you think you will live past 100? Now that you know these 7 signs, do you think you will live past 100? Let us know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video and learned a thing or two about the signs that indicate a long life. Please share this video with friends and family if you found it helpful, and do not forget to subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.